The top stories tonight in Y News. The National Economic and Development Authority releases the implementing rules and regulations of the amendments to the Public Service Act.
The Senate and House of Representatives are set to hold an executive session to settle differences on the proposed charter change.
The Maritime Industry Authority denies signing an amended certificate of public convenience of sunken MT Princess Empress.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin pays surprise visit to Russian-occupied Mariupol in Ukraine.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Monday, the 20th of March, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Hardy Delgado.
First in the news. Following extensive review and consultations with the public, the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, released the implementing rules and regulations, or IRR, of the amendments to the Public Service Act. Nel Maribohok reports.
The National Economic and Development Authority has released the implementing rules and regulations of the amended Public Service Act, or PSA. Upon its effectivity, the amendments to the PSA shall enable the liberalization of key public services by allowing full foreign ownership of businesses in select industries such as airports, railways, expressways, and telecommunications. Accordingly, the amendments also provide safeguard provisions to protect the country against national security concerns that may arise through any proposed merger or acquisition or any investment in a public service. Prior to the approval of the amendments, foreign ownership in the aforementioned industries was limited to 40%. In a statement, NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan assured that the IRR has undergone extensive review and consultations with the public, legislators, relevant administrative agencies, and other key stakeholders. According to Balisacan, with the approved IRR, it will further improve the country's position as an ideal investment hub, which will enhance employment opportunities and allow more Filipinos to benefit from more improved goods and services. He added that PSA amendments form a critical part to attract foreign investments to the country to boost market competitiveness. The approved IRR of the amended PSA will become effective in April 4, 2023. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Another suspect in the Degamo killing case surrendered to the authorities. He has alleged direct participation in the crime. Dante Amento has the story.
A former military man and suspect in the Degamo killing is now under custody of the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI. He surrendered to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, last week. Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos Jr. explained this suspect has a vital information about the crime.
We understand that the suspect has vital and critical information that we hope will pave for the resolution of this case the soonest possible time.
AFP Chief of Staff General Antonio Centino added he was a military sergeant who was discharged from the service in 2016 for involvement in the illegal drugs.
Last year nandun na siya. So nakasama na rin siya sa grupo.
Justice Secretary Crispin Rimulya said the suspect has a direct participation in the crime.
He knows the other people who were involved, kaya alam natin ang yung extent ng network. Kaya marami pa kaming persons of interest na hinahanap.
The NBI is now taking affidavits from the suspect as part of the ongoing case build-up. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges has given Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnolfo Teves Jr. 24 hours to return to the country and to physically attend the committee hearing. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Ethics Committee is not allowing Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnolfo Teves Jr. to attend hearings virtually. Kong Teves has until today, March 20, to explain his absence after his travel clearance has expired. The lawmaker was set to attend the hearing online according to his legal counsel, but the committee did not allow it.
Hindi allowed yung virtual. We need really his physical appearance, meaning it's him to report here in the House of Representatives.
The committee assured it has given the congressman enough time and information to appear before the committee. Regarding the concern of Kong Teves on the grave security threat, the Ethics Committee also assured its readiness to provide assistance. Due to Teves' continued absence, the Ethics Committee has given the lawmaker an ultimatum.
But kung hindi siya makapag-appear personally in our committee, so the committee would really have its decision, the appropriate sanctions. No? Ultimatum in a sense na nabigyan siya ng time to really go back here in the Philippines. Dahil kung hindi, yun na, mag-provide kami ng aming decision what is the appropriate sanction.
Kong Teves now has until tomorrow afternoon to physically attend the hearing. Otherwise, the committee will decide on sanctions to be imposed on the congressman.
24 hours is there, but then just in case whatever development is that, baka pwede naman namin pag-usapan with the committee.
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The 13 personnel of the Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or PNP CIDG, are not yet off the hook over the robbery extortion complaints. This despite the retraction of the Chinese nationals on the extortion allegations logged against the 13 CIDG cops on March 13. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, will continue its investigation against former Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG NCR Chief Police Colonel Hansel Marantan and 12 other personnel on the alleged extortion activities on 13 Chinese nationals last March 13. PNP Chief Police General Rodolfo Osorin Jr. said they have to validate and study the affidavit issued by the Chinese national in which they are denying the information that the operatives asked for money in exchange of their liberty. General Osorin added the CIDG personnel need to explain why the PNP recovered 2 luxury watches, bag, and 3 million pesos in their possession. Marantan and 12 CIDG NCR personnel were relieved from their post amid allegations that they took the Chinese personal belongings during the arrest for illegal gambling. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Senate and House of Representatives will hold an executive session to settle differences on the proposed charter change. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
An open forum. This was how Senate President Juan Miguel Migzubiri described the upcoming executive session in a bid to discuss once and for all the differences in the proposed charter change of 2 chambers of Congress. He says this was in response to the call of Cavite 4th District Representative Elpidio Barzaga for a World War ceasefire and resolve the issue privately.
Doon kami pwede mag-open forum and we can discuss ano ba talaga ang issues na gusto nilang i-tackle. Iba yung gusto ni Senator Padilla na con-as sila, con-con. So kung may disagreeing provisions, that means wala na, patay na ba to? It is not going to be healthy if both houses are going to be fighting on this particular issue.
Before this, Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments Chairperson Senator Robin Padilla confirmed that they canceled his invitation to congressmen to attend the hearing for the House lawmakers to present their version of Chacha to senators.
Hindi naman po masama ang loob kasi ako po ay soldier eh. Kailangan pag sinabi ng commander ko na si Senator President Migsubiri, susunod po ako. Malungkot ako din na tuloy kasi gusto ko talaga magkabakbakan eh. Oo, eto na talaga yung inaantay ko.
In a statement, Padilla's counterpart in the lower house, Cagayan de Oro 2nd District Representative Rufus Rodriguez said he was disappointed with the cancellation of the invitation. Rodriguez noted that he was already prepared to go to the Senate to present to the senators the basis of the proposed amendments to the charter, which he described as data-driven, evidence-based, and future-proof. However, Zubiri explains, as part of tradition, they do not invite their colleagues as resource persons to observe interparliamentary courtesy.
That parliamentary courtesy meaning, kung resource persons yung congressman, ibig po sabihin, pwede po natin i-grill at i-interpolate yan. How will you treat the difference in opinion? Pag uminit pang ulo nila at tumaas ang boses, hindi naman maganda yun.
Zubiri says the executive session is expected to happen after the session break. The Senate leader vows to release to the public the summary of the meeting that will determine the fate of Chacha under the 19th Congress. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for news abroad, Russian President Vladimir Putin makes his first visit to Mariupol, a Ukrainian port city in the Donetsk region occupied by the Russian forces since May last year, and drives around the city Saturday night. Luz Bahe will tell us why live. Good evening, Ruth.
Good evening, Elsie. Russian President Vladimir Putin made an unexpected visit to the Russian-occupied city of Mariupol in Ukraine on Saturday night, March 18. According to the Kremlin, the president conducted a reconstruction campaign with Deputy Prime Minister Marat Kashnalin, briefing him while driving around the city. The port city was home to 500,000 people prior to one of the worst, bloodiest battles in May 2022. This was after the International Criminal Court, or ICC, issued an arrest warrant for Putin on Friday for an alleged plan to deport Ukrainian children to Russia. However, the president has not made a public comment on the warrant yet, and his spokesperson Dmitry Peskov described it as null and void, saying Russia finds it outrageous and unacceptable. Putin also visited Crimea on Saturday to celebrate the 9th anniversary of Russia's annexation of the territory from Ukraine since 2014. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian authorities expressed their outrage at Putin's visit to Mariupol after Crimea and have promised to liberate all the Russian-occupied territories. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Ruth Bahe, reporting live from Vietnam. Governor Gavin Newsom announced on Sunday, March 19, that he wants to modernize how California treats a mental illness, substance disorder, and homelessness. The announcement comes after California state officials were disturbed by the growing number of homeless encampments, with the Department of Housing and Urban Development accounting for 171,000 out of nearly 600,000 homeless people in the country are scattered across the state. Governor Newsom plans to tackle this by asking voters in 2024 for their permission to sign off on new bonds and create a permanent source of house funding amounting to at least $1 billion per year through the Mental Health Services Act. The bonds will make way for the development of mental health treatment residential settings that will house Californians with mental illness and substance use disorders and homeless veterans. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, Harleen.
Thank you, Elsie. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. The oil spill from the sunken empty Princess Empress has now started to reach the Verde Island Passage in Batangas City. The University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute, or MSI, calls on the public to help them improve their projection on the trajectory of the oil slick. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The presence of oil spill is now cited on the shores of Isla Verde along the marine biodiversity-rich Verde Island Passage or VIP in Batangas City. This matches the oil slick trajectory projected by the University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute or UPMSI. According to Dr. Irene Rodriguez, the ocean current now prevails in the direction of the oil spill because of the weakening of the northeast monsoon.
So yung agos o daloy ng tubig at based sa available na information natin, yung daloy ng tubig ay towards the north. Okay, so pupunta talaga sa direction ng Isla Verde.
Dr. Rodriguez added, the Verde Island Passage is known as the center of the marine biodiversity and it plays a vital role in the ecosystem in the area.
Ang yamang dagat na makikita sa Verde Island Passage ay walang katumbas sa ibang lugar sa atin dito sa Pilipinas. At ito ay critical na source ng ating pagkain. Hindi lang ng pagkain, kundi yung talagang yamang dagat na majority ay merong importanteng ecological roles and functions.
According to Dr. J.V. Ablanya, the oil slick may affect the photosynthesis in the affected areas.
As you know, with the massive coral bleaching, cascading effect, no, so mababawasan din ang ating isda because dito tumitira ang ating mga isda.
UPMSI calls on the public to help them improve their projection on the trajectory of the oil slick by sending geotag in the links they provided in their social media account. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Maritime Industry Authority or Marina denied signing an amended Certificate of Public Convenience or CPC of sunken MT Princess Empress which caused oil spill in Nauhan, Oriental, Mindoro. JP Nunez will tell us why.
Even there was a Certificate of Public Convenience or CPC presented by the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG from the company of the sunken MT Princess Empress, the Maritime Industry Authority or Marina said the authenticity of their document is still under investigation. Engineer Mark Anthony Pascua, the Regional Director of Marina National Capital Region, believes that the CPC owned by the company who operates MT Princess Empress is a forged document.
As far as Marina NCR is concerned, as far our records are concerned, wala po kaming ini-issue amended CPC sa particular vessel na Princess Empress. That's number one. Number two, wala po akong pinipirmahan na CPC for that particular vessel. Hindi siya authentic, so to speak.
Marina spokesperson Attorney Sharon Aledo said the agency did not issue an amendment to its CPC.
There is no CPC amendment as of yet. The matter pertaining to that supposed decision is being investigated by the Department of Transportation at present.
CPC is issued by the Marina to a domestic water transport service provider to operate a vessel for commercial or public use for which no franchise, either municipal or legislative, is required by law. According to Attorney Aledo, once proven that they forged their document which allows them to sail, the company may face charges and it may result to the revocation of their operational permits.
It's an offense, of course, pursuant to our Marina Circular 120, our circular on fines and penalties. And meron din po yung fine, mayroon din po yung may mga sanctions po kapag meron po kaming nakita na mga spurious or hindi po valid and hindi authentic na mga documents.
Marina said the remaining vessels of the company who operates the sunken MT Princess Empress are suspended while there is still an ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, Marina said they are willing to cooperate with the Department of Justice on its plan to investigate their agency on the issue of sunken MT Princess Empress.
So we are going to cooperate with the Department of Justice in the investigation they are conducting.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, has been urged to identify and locate a doctor who supposedly refused to help hazing victim Adamson University student John Mathew Salilig. In today's Senate hearing, Senator Francis Tolentino revealed that based on the sworn statement of Ralph Benjamin Tan alias Scotty, one of the 5 respondents that voluntarily surrendered to the NBI, a cousin of one of the frat members who happens to be a doctor refused to give medical aid to Salilig. The NBI says they are trying to identify the said doctor through various means.
Subalit tinanong ni Ralph Benjamin Tan si Lee kung pwedeng tumulong yung kanyang pinsan na doktor para asistihan si Mathew. Ang sabi po nung doktor, hindi pwede. Atin po bang hinanap kung sino itong doktor na ito who declined to offer medical assistance na nakita niya na naghihingalo na si Mathew? Kasi po bawat doktor may sinumpaan.
Apparently, si Ralph Benjamin Tan, he cannot identify kung sino talaga yung doktor. So we're trying to pursue other information kung saan po namin ma-identify yung doktor. Mr. Chair.
The Bureau of Immigration, or BI, gears up for the expected influx of passengers in airports for the long weekend set in the first week of April. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
To address expected congestion and long queues in the immigration counters at airports for the long weekend set in first week of April, the Bureau of Immigration is now preparing for additional manpower in all airports of the country, especially at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA. According to Immigration Commissioner Attorney Norman Tancinco, they will pick some of their regular employees to be deployed to immigration counters as augmentation for the possible influx of passengers in airports. Apart from this, BI are now reviewing the shifting schedules of their immigration officers to ensure that there is sufficient manpower at the airport.
Last week, I already requested for the designation of some of our regular employees as acting immigration officers so they can be deployed also as to the counters. We are reviewing also the shifting schedule of our immigration officers, so much so that in case of peak hours, we have 100% capacity in our counters in coordination also.
Apart from additional manpower, BI conducts retraining of their employees to ensure that the incident that happened with a traveler who failed to catch her flight due to a lengthy interview with an immigration officer won't happen again.
We are already in the process of implementing some reforms because of what happened with this particular passenger. Starting today, we have retraining of our supervisors and we will be conducting also pocket trainings while at the airport.
Meanwhile, the Manila International Airport Authority is now looking into adding more immigration counters at Terminals 1 and 2 to accommodate more passengers in the queue.
In Terminals 1 and 2 right now, the immigration counters are 4-man counters. Sa Terminal 3 po, 2-man counters lang siya. So what we're looking at to fast-track and do a short-term increase in the number of officers is to convert that from 2-man to a 4-man counter.
Airport authorities also remind air passengers to go to the airport 3 hours before their flight to avoid delays or missing a flight. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In a historic bid to stabilize the European market and avoid irreparable global economic turmoil, the Swiss government has brokered a shotgun deal that will merge the country's 2 largest banks. Marvy Delphine details why live. Yes, Marvy?
UBS has announced the takeover of its struggling rival Credit Suisse after finalizing talks on Sunday night, March 19, in a race against the opening of the financial markets earlier today. As part of a media release, UBS Chief Executive Officer Ralph Hamer stated that the transaction will reinforce UBS's position as the leading universal bank in Switzerland. Hamers added that the combined businesses will be a leading asset manager in Europe with invested assets of more than $1.5 trillion. While according to Credit Suisse Chairman Axel Lehmann, the agreement poses to be the best available outcome for the 167-year-old lender, which is considered one of the top 30 most important banks in the world. This after Credit Suisse was feared to almost freefall following the failure of two mid-sized U.S. banks in recent weeks. Other contributing factors for the merger included the lack of investor confidence, even as the Swiss National Bank gave an emergency $54 billion lifeline last Wednesday, March 15. Despite the swift action by Swiss regulators, today's opening of financial markets saw Credit Suisse shares plunging to 63%, while UBS was down 12%. The wipeout of $17 billion worth of Credit Suisse bonds was also prompted. In response, 6 central banks in the US, Canada, UK, Japan, Switzerland, and the Eurozone coordinated with each other to implement measures such as boosting daily US dollar swaps to maintain cash flow through the global financial system. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Marvi Delphine, reporting live from Australia. Hundreds of shelters in northwestern Syria have been damaged by a heavy storm, most of which were homes that were set up for those displaced by the February earthquakes. Mavian Dog tells us why live. Yes, Maeve?
LC torrential rains hit the Adwan village region of Syria on Saturday, March 18, destroying more than 40 camps and 700 tents of displaced survivors from last month's deadly earthquakes. Deputy Director of the Syria Civil Defense, Munir al-Mustafa, said most of the tents were established in a rush and were not suitable for winter storms. He further stated that providing temporary homes is not the ideal solution for the displaced people, and they are deprived of the right to live safely in their own homes. He argues that they should be given assistance to return to their homes, which would also minimize the need for relief support. Director of the Adwan camp, Abu Abdullah, said majority of the families that lived in the camps are now homeless, with camp residents transferred to schools and mosques temporarily as they await assistance from international organizations to rebuild their camp. Meanwhile, meteorologists predict a drop in temperatures in the region in the coming days. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the Global Prayer for Humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word, giving glory to God. From the book of Psalms, chapter 106, verse 3, it says, "Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times." And those are the reasons behind the news, March 20, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Marina Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.